But I think a big portion of that was that we had to, like, before getting into our relationship, like I said, we were in the friend stage, and then we learning, like, love. Like, so we,
Yeah.
learning what that is, and understanding it. So obviously we always start with self-love.
Yeah. Which we
Like you
spoke
said,
about.
we both came from previous marriages, and obviously we've had relationships in between. So it was knowing how to, like, just love yourself first, because
Yeah.
if you don't understand that God is love and you don't love
Yeah.
yourself,
Yep.
you will never love anybody properly. They could be God sent to you,
Yep.
and it's not gonna work because you don't understand love and
Yeah.
how it works. So that's very, very important. And I think that we both understood that going in. We used to speak all the time and say how we felt that, I'm happy in my life and who I am.
Yeah.
He was happy in his life and who he was. So us coming together was just like we're sharing.
Each other with each other.
Yeah, we're sharing life together, and I wasn't miserable and looking for him to make me happy.
Yeah, and you see that a lot, especially both of us being single parents. I've seen men and I've interacted with men that'll go, man, I need a woman around just to do the things that I don't want to do. And vice versa. Women, single moms will be, I need a man around to do these things because I don't want to do them, And they get into that space of needing a relationship. I didn't feel like she needed me when we started, which was the blessing. She had her own money. And it's not just about the money part. She was secure in herself. She didn't need me to come around and make her feel secure about herself. She didn't really need much. It was very low maintenance at that time. Now she's like, she counts on me for things now, and I count on her for things. But that's the blessing in it, was I knew that she didn't depend on me. And there is a difference between counting on somebody and depending on somebody. Like, I can count on her for anything, but I don't depend on her to do anything for me. She doesn't depend on me to do anything for her. She counts on me for everything. I count on her for everything. And that's how our relationship worked in the beginning. And that's what made me like, I love this woman. She's amazing. So when we get to Mexico, we have the best time in the world. Like, we have the most amazing, peaceful, fun. And we were only there for 3 days, 4 days.
Yeah, we went for a very short time because it was just like a turnaround
Yeah.
weekend type thing. It was nice though.
It was really nice, So to her point, learning love and learning what that feels like, and what's right and what's not right. I think that was like a big step for us. We went from friendship to, oh my God, I actually really want to be with this person, So after that trip, we went home, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, I really want to see you again. We're at that space in our
Yeah.
relationship. Like, when do I get to see you next?
Yeah, I'm sure, you guys have experienced that. You go on a date with somebody and you had a really good time. It's like, man, when am I going to see you again? And imagine that feeling, but being all the way on the other side of the country. So it was like, it wasn't like, we can plan, well, next Friday I'll come into town,
Right.
or whatever. So, it was like, man, now we're like feeling these feelings, and we're like, man, I really want to see you, man, I really want to see you too. And like, it's still so fresh that it's like, I don't want to be like, I miss you, because like, do I miss you? Like, I don't know how.
Like,
I don't even.
Or
I'm not.
you scared of rejection a little bit too. Like, does he miss me?
Yeah, I'm not knowing, and you don't want to. And we're in that, like women, we are always like, I don't want to be too pushy. I don't want to come off too clingy and be like, oh, well, I miss you, I this and that, and then you scare the man away. So, good thing
Overcome
was
the fear, huh?
Yeah, good thing the feeling was neutral.
Yeah, you have to overcome that fear, I believe. And I think that, that again, back to faith and not having the spirit of fear, right? I think
Yeah.
that was like the hardest part, like, because you coming from dating and the world and other relationships, and it's like disappointment after disappointment sometimes. So you're like, oh man, it instills fear to not be as open with the person that you're supposed to be open with.
Exactly.
Because they're going to be open with you, So we have to overcome those fears individually and collectively, right?
Yeah. So now we made plans. It's
Yeah.
like, so this is where it gets expensive, is the back and forth. So now,
Before that, though, because when we're making those plans, she calls me. And you remember this conversation, baby? The conversation after Mexico, that week after? She calls me and she's like, in so many words, I better not see you with nobody else. In her way. It was it was much more polite than that.
Yeah. Yeah, very much more polite than that. But it was like, listen, like, because I was always that person, like, when we go back to speaking about, how I carried myself and how I was, doing the work on myself. That was one thing I did, is like, I didn't date multiple people at once when I was dating. And not because, like, honestly, I worked so much I couldn't juggle 3-4 men. Like, the men that I was dating, they were always upset that I wasn't texting back quick enough or whatever the case may be. I was just a busy person.
Yeah.
But so yeah, when I'm dating somebody, that's who I'm dating. Like we go together. So
She called me. We had a conversation. I may have called her. She called me or something. We were on the phone. This is after we left Mexico, maybe 4 days, 5 days later. And she was like trying to be nice about it, but she was trying to let me know like I have like don't play with me in so many words too. Like, and she was being nice about it actually, but she was like, yeah, I just don't want to see you with anybody else.
yeah.
And I understood exactly what she was saying because I kind of felt the same way. Like, I don't want to see her with nobody else, really.
Yeah.
So that's when we kind of decided, like, we're doing this. We're about to take another step into our relationship, you know?
Yeah.
And so we decided at that point to start traveling and seeing each other. And I got on the plane, make sure I went out there to see her as much as I could.
That's a good, I'm glad that he did bring that up because that is a good point. So we did technically kind of make it official before we spent all this money. So men don't go out and spend all this money traveling back and forth and vacations and all this stuff if you're not.
Get one of those, hey, I'm in your city. Okay, have fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want that. So
Yeah, you don't want them situations.
no, and the good thing is like we've spoken before about just being genuine about what you do. So I know that he was genuine that if we went to Mexico and we did not work out, he wasn't gonna like regret it or hate that or be mad at me or he didn't. I didn't even feel that he expected anything back from me because he took me to Mexico. So that was.
And I was going anyway. So it didn't cost any. If you travel, it doesn't cost much extra for two of those as it does for one, just the plane ticket. But I felt good because she had put her own money up, and man, we worry about this. Like, I don't want somebody using me for my money, right? She put her own money up to get there. She paid. She had everything ready. I didn't have to buy her anything. All I had to do was get the plane tickets, and that's because I offered. Hey, I'm the one offering to go to Mexico, so I'll buy your plane ticket to Mexico and back. But she bought her plane ticket
to California.
Yeah.
So I bought my ticket to California because I was supposed to just be there. So, but he bought the plane ticket to Mexico and back, and he got, obviously paid for the entire resort and everything else.
And it was like she said, it was my birthday week. She bought me gifts for my birthday.
So it was very much reciprocated. Like we both did our part.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now once we made it official, we were like, okay, let's move forward with like when I'm gonna see you again. So he booked a trip to New York, and I made it a point. I paid for his room.
Yes, she did.
I paid for, whatever things that we did there. Yep. So I made sure.
Our good time.
Yeah. I remember picking him up from the airport. He like landed at a crazy time, and I was so exhausted. I think I pulled an all-nighter because I had worked late that night, and I didn't even go to sleep. I got off work. I went home. I showered, and then literally had to get on the road. And drive like an hour and some change to the airport.
Let me tell you what I'm thinking at this time. At this time, I'm knowing that she's working all night. I'm knowing that she's getting up. I know it's kids involved. I know, everything. Like, she's doing all this. She's making all these sacrifices in my head. And I will get there, and she picked me up from the airport early in the morning. We stop at the gas station. I'm going to fill your tank up, all that stuff, right? I've been like that since the beginning of our relationship. But the whole time I'm thinking, this woman is never going to have to work again a day in her life if this goes right because of all that she's sacrificing,
I had no idea. I was just being mean.
Just being herself. But because she was being so genuine, it made me go, man, look at how far she's willing to go for us and for me personally, because she don't have to do that, So the whole time she's picking me up in the car from the airport, she's paying for our trips and stuff like that. While I'm out there, she was paying for like, not our trips, but she was paying for our activities, right? So the whole time I'm like, if this works out, she ain't never gonna have to work again if she don't want to, So we had a great time. I had so much fun in New York because that was my first time being in New York. She took us to what's it called, baby? The sky thing.
We went to the summit. I showed them around New York City. Yep. We went axe throwing. We went out to dinner.
She had so much activities planned for her. It was awesome. It was so fun.
Yeah, I had a lot of stuff like that, and he had a good time. I had a good time.
I was falling in love with her. I probably had fell in love with her by that point. I'm like, I love this woman. This woman is mine.
He loved me.
Yeah, she was awesome.
So yeah, then we just started doing like the back and forth, and I think that it was really like it just felt so natural. Yep. It didn't feel forced. Nothing felt forced. And
she would fly to me. I would fly to her. She would fly to me. I would fly to her. I would fly to her.
Yeah, and we're both at this point, we're kind of going back and forth when it comes to like money wise. So it wasn't like he was like tricking on me, like, you know, just
No,
flying me
no.
here and there, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, we were going back and forth, like, you know,
Yeah.
you buy a plane ticket, I'll buy the room type thing,
Yeah, yeah.
vice versa.
We was
So,
balancing it. You know, you bought a rental car, I bought a room. You bought a plane ticket, I bought this. Like,
yeah.
it was very fun, and because it didn't feel like a chore. It wasn't like, oh, she was asking me for something or I was asking her for something. We were just having fun. We were really just enjoying each other. And this is my friend, and you know, it's exciting to fly her out because my friend is coming. You know, and vice versa. And outside of at this point, we were, you know, feeling like, okay, this is a relationship. When we're flying back and forth, we know that we are for each other at that point. But it still felt like this is my friend. You
Yeah.
know, so we were coming. She would come out. We're doing things just for fun, like. Remember when we went and got a lobster for like $400, you know,
Yeah, we went, yeah, to Redondo Beach and, like, spent $400 on just crabs and lobster
just to
and
say we did it.
just